Hello, and thank you for joining me for Small Business Loan One on How to Ace the Application. My name is Alyssa Hazel, and I'm the current intake coordinator at Climb Fund. Most of our clients are first-time business borrowers, and applying for small business funding can be daunting, so the purpose of today's video is to demystify our application process and help you prepare efficiently complete the application. Our loan officers are going to need a lot of information in order to underwrite your loan, and they will get this information through the documentation that we request in the application process. It is important to be well prepared for the application process so that you are able to quickly move from intake to underwriting. There are some first steps that we recommend that you take prior to applying to make the process as smooth as possible, and they're listed here. First, you want to know exactly how much money you need for your business. Second, if you're a business that requires an office or a brick and mortar location, you'll want to know where you intend to house your business. Next, you will want to speak to your bank to see if they could assist you with the project or part of the project. Finally, you will want to pull a copy of your personal credit report, do it ahead of applying. Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper into each of these steps. So let's first talk about how to determine how much money you need. Climb Fund does not approve borrowers up to a certain amount of capital. You will need to enter into the application process knowing what you need. When you are trying to determine how much money to borrow for your business, there are some questions that you will want to consider. First, what is the project that I need funding for? Whether you're a startup or an existing business, there's a reason why you need capital. You'll need to have a clear understanding of what you are trying to achieve before applying for funding. Second, what do I need to complete this project? Now that you know what you need funding for, you will need to understand what you need to accomplish your goal. If you are a startup, you may be looking for funding to renovate a business location or purchase the necessary equipment to run the business. If you are an existing business, you may need funds to kickstart a marketing campaign for a new product or service. Regardless of what your project is, you will need to know exactly what you need to execute that project. And finally, how much will my project cost? Once you know what things you need to have to get your project completed, it is time to do research. You will need to know exactly how much each product or service needed for your project will cost, and you can do that by gathering estimates. Climb Fund uses estimates to verify that you have requested the right amount of funding to finish your project. We do not want to under or overfund you. I have provided some examples of different uses of funds that require estimates. If you are renovating a business space, you will need to have a contractor come out to provide a quote on how much the labor and supplies will cost to complete the project. Keep in mind that contractor estimates need to be on their company letterhead. If you need to purchase equipment for your business, we will also need to see pricing on the items that you intend to buy. Some clients work with vendors and receive quotes for their equipment, but many opt to order items online. If you do choose to find your equipment online, we will need access to the web links that show each product's pricing. If you plan to use third-party services, you will need to consult with a professional and get information on their pricing. Like contractor estimates, we want to see the company that you're planning to work with. Examples of common third-party services are marketing, web design, and accounting. If you're an existing business that is interested in consolidating and refinancing high-interest debt, we'll need to verify the balance and terms, which can be done with the most recent statement and the loan agreement. Many companies request working capital for their project. If you plan on utilizing loan funds for working capital, you'll need to give us some insight into what you plan to use that capital for, such as coverage of rent or utilities for a period of time or employee salaries. If you are a brick and mortar business, you will also want to begin thinking about your location before you apply. Climb Fund encourages borrowers to obtain a letter of intent or LOI on a space before applying for funding, because an LOI will give us as lenders important information about your space, such as the rent costs and the term of the lease. We will use this information directly in underwriting. If you come into the application process without an LOI, be aware that the approval process might be prolonged. Climb Fund is a nonprofit CDFI who works exclusively with small business owners in the state of South Carolina who are unable to obtain bank funding. If you are requesting $20,000 or more from us, we will require a bank declination communication in the application stage. Before you apply with Climb Fund, you will need to speak with a bank or credit union about your business and financing needs to see if you would qualify for a traditional commercial loan. You do not need to apply for funding at a bank to meet our requirements. We suggest simply having a conversation with a commercial banker at your bank to see what their eligibility requirements are for commercial loans. If they are unable to assist you, have them email you a summary of your conversation, and that will be sufficient for our declination requirement. If you have recently applied for a business loan and were declined, please provide us with the declination letter that you received. Lastly, before you apply for small business financing, please pull a copy of your personal credit report and review it. If you recently applied for funding at a bank, you can request a copy of your report, or you can pull a free copy of your report at annualcreditreport.com. Climb Fund does not have a minimum credit score, but we will review your credit history. If you have derogatory marks on your credit, please provide a written explanation detailing why your payments have become behind. If you have any open delinquencies, such as late payments, charge-offs, or collections, we will require that you contact your creditors to make your account current or set up payment plans before we proceed with your application. We will request proof of these payments in the application process, so make sure that you save the paperwork that's associated with them. Once you have completed the groundwork for your financing request, it is time to start collecting documentation. Climb Fund will look at both business and personal documentation in the application process. I'm going to go through each document with you one by one. Every business owner with 20% or more stake in the company will need to submit personal documentation to us. If you choose to add a personal guarantor to your loan, the cosigner will also need to provide this documentation. The documents that we will look at are listed on the screen, and I'm going to go through each of these one by one. Climb Fund requires 3 years of tax returns to be submitted with your application. We will need all pages of your tax return, not just the Form 1040, and the return should be electronic copies or neatly scanned and in order. If you have not filed taxes for the most recent tax year, then you will need to provide another form of income verification, like W-2s, 1099s, or your last pay stub of the year. If the tax due date has passed and your personal taxes are not completed, we will also require a tax extension form. If you filed taxes jointly with your spouse and your spouse is not on the loan, we will need to separate your income from theirs, and we will do that by collecting W-2s. If you do not have W-2 income, we can also accept 1099s, owner's draws reports, or your spouse's W-2s. We will need a federal ID in order to process your loan. We prefer a copy of your South Carolina driver's license. If you have recently moved to the state of South Carolina and you do not have a South Carolina driver's license yet, we ask that you go to the DMV to get your updated license because it is state law that you do so within 45 days of moving here. If you are not a U.S. citizen, we will also ask for immigration documentation such as a green card or a work visa. Climb Fund requests resumes for each owner of the business to get a sense of your experience in your business industry. We will use this information for our risk rating as well as utilize it to paint a picture of you as a business owner in our approval presentation. Your resume should look like a resume that you would submit as part of a job application. We'll want to see your education and work experience. Make sure that you provide us with an updated resume that lists recent job roles or other achievements. We use your pay stub to verify year-to-date income. You will want to submit your latest pay stub to show the most recent year-to-date earnings. If you do not have a pay stub, don't worry. We can verify year-to-date income using your last 3 paychecks, an owner's draw report, or all current year bank statements. If you are not currently working, we will ask for the last pay stub from your previous job if you were employed this year, and we may ask for more information on how you are covering your personal expenses without income. If you plan on leaving your current employer, please let your intake coordinator know. It is important for us as lenders to have an idea of when your income may fluctuate. We will ask for your latest 3 months of bank statements in the application stage to verify your liquidity and get an idea of your monthly expenses. If you have multiple accounts, please provide us with 3 months of statements from each account. If you have an investment account, please provide the most recent statement. This capital will also be included in your liquidity. Your personal financial statement is essentially a balance sheet for your personal finances. It will outline any assets that you have and your debt against those assets, which will calculate your net worth. Certain assets, such as vehicles, real estate, and stocks, will require additional information, such as the make and model of the vehicle or the property address. When you are completing your personal financial statement, it is really important to be honest. Whether your net worth is positive or negative will not impact your approval, but not being transparent may have a negative effect on your application. Now I will walk you through all the information that we are going to need on your business before we can begin underwriting. Business documentation can be combined into three categories: legal documentation, project information, and business financials. Starting off with the legal documentation for the business, we will want to see that your business is filed with the Secretary of State. You do this by filing articles, which is essentially the birth certificate of your business. Most of the businesses that apply for funding with us are LLCs, which receive articles of organization. The name of the document can vary by your business structure, but it will look similar to the document on the right side of the screen. We will need all 3 pages of your articles. If you're unsure if you have filed this document, you can search your business name and request a copy on the South Carolina Secretary of State website. Once you have filed your articles, you will also receive a certificate of existence. This document will generate when your articles are approved and can be requested from the Secretary of State. It is a single-page document that looks like the image on the right. We will also need a copy of your EIN confirmation letter, which is provided by the IRS and is the tax ID number for your business. Please do not just send your intake coordinator the EIN without paperwork to back it up. We need to confirm that the number provided belongs to your business. If you are an existing business, we can pull your EIN from your tax returns. If you are a business that is currently renting or plans on renting a business space, you will need to provide us with the lease information. We often term our loans to the same term as the business's lease, so you will want to make sure that the length of the lease is sufficient time for repayment of your loan. If you are unsure whether you will need to expand in the future and you do not want to lock in to that location for a long period of time, I suggest speaking with your landlord about adding options to renew for a shorter term. If you are a business with 2 or more owners, we will also need an operating agreement which will outline the ownership percentages and the operations of the company and the responsibilities of its members. There are templates online that you can use to create an operating agreement, but if you have many owners or plan on having a unique structure to your company, you may want to have a lawyer assist you with this document. Next, let's discuss the project information you will provide to us in the application stage. The project information will be the meat and potatoes of your request and give us all the information that we need to know about your business and financing request. First, you will need to submit a business plan. While we do not have a specific template you must use for your business plan, you will want to ensure that it provides us with everything that we need to know about your business, such as the product or service you are offering, how the business will operate, and how you will make it successful. Business plans can be a difficult exercise because it requires you to do a lot of thinking about your business and the environment that it is operating in. If you need guidance on your business plan, I encourage you to check out our business plan basics video available on our website and YouTube channel. Another critical part of your application is your projections. We want to know what you expect your sales and expenses to look like in the first 3 years. We will use your projections directly in the underwriting process, so it is important to keep them as realistic as possible. We ask that you provide 3 years of projections in profit and loss format. The first 12 months should be broken down month to month, and then the 2 years following that can be done annually. Our projections one-on-one video will go through step by step how to create startup projections. We also have the template that's used in the video available on our website so you can easily follow along. As I explained in the beginning of the video, you will want to know when you come into the application process how much money you need and how you plan to use it. Your use of funds will outline that information for us by breaking down your total project cost. The table will show where your funding is coming from, including a climb fund loan, loans from other lenders, and your own investment into the project. In the example on the right, the borrower is requesting $10,000 for leasehold improvements and $10,000 of working capital from Climb Fund, equaling a $20,000 request. They've already received $20,000 for equipment from another lender, and they have $17,500 they plan to put into the project themselves. We require estimates for the items on your use of funds to verify pricing and ensure you are requesting the correct amount of money to complete the project. We've already touched on this topic earlier in the video, but please be aware that we will want to see your estimates closely match your use of funds. If you are purchasing large amounts of equipment or other supplies from different retailers online, we recommend that you provide your estimates within a table similar to the one that is shown here on the right. The table should include the name of each item, its price, the quantity that you need, the total cost, and the link to the product's webpage. This will allow our lending team to easily see what you plan to purchase, and it gives us access to learn more about the products. If you are an existing business, we will also request financial information for the business to see its historical performance. Depending on your opening date, we will request up to 3 years of business tax returns. Many of our borrowers' business taxes are filed on their personal returns and include the Schedule C, which allows us to see the profit the business reported to the IRS. If your business taxes were filed separately from your personal taxes, you will need to supply the full return to us. P&Ls allow us to see how much revenue and expenses your business has historically had. You will be asked to submit two profit and loss statements, one for the full prior year and one covering all the months year to date. Systems such as QuickBooks can generate these statements, or if you have an accountant, request these documents be prepared for you. If you self-prepare your profit and loss statement, please let your intake coordinator know. Like the profit and loss statement, we will want to see a prior year and year-to-date balance sheet. Balance sheets will show us what assets the business has and how much debt is owed on those assets. As a business owner, it is really important that you feel comfortable preparing and reading financial statements. Climb Fund will request these statements for each month for the first year post-closing. The portfolio team will use the information that you provide to us to determine the health of your business and allow them to make good suggestions on how you can improve. If you would like more information on financial statements, I recommend that you check out our Fundamentals of Financial Statements video available on our website and YouTube channel. Finally, if you are an existing business, we will request 3 months of business bank statements. Your bank statements will allow us to see how much cash you have on hand to handle in emergencies or assist you with cash flow during slow periods or periods of delayed income. Make sure to include all pages on your bank statements because we will review your transactions to see where the business income and expenses are coming from. That completes the overview of documentation needed for a loan application, but I also wanted to go over a few things to keep in mind when you are preparing to apply for business funding. First, documents submitted in the application package are time sensitive. We will need the most up-to-date financials before we proceed to underwriting, so make sure you consider this when you are gathering documentation. Items like bank statements and pay stubs are typically easy to knock off the list because you can pull them online, but you will want to avoid pulling this information first. It is best to begin with the more difficult items on the checklist, such as your business plan, projections, lease agreement, or estimates. Compiling these items first will prevent you from having to pull new financials on the back end. Also, remember that your intake coordinator is here to assist you. The whole job of an intake coordinator is to help you complete your application successfully. So if you have questions or need support, reach out to us so we can help. We have we are familiar with every facet of the application and we have good insight into what the underwriting and approval process is going to look like. If we do not have an answer to your question, we're going to find out for you. Another thing to remember is that each business and loan application is unique. After an initial review of your request and supporting documents, we may ask that you provide additional information to us to make sure that we have a full understanding of your business and the project that you are applying for. For example, if you are planning to purchase an existing business, we will request that you provide an asset list and the sale agreement for the purchase. If an intake coordinator requests additional documents from you, please understand that the items requested are necessary to underwrite the loan and present it for approval. Likewise, do not be alarmed if in underwriting your loan officer requests documents from you. Like I said, we need the most up-to-date information to use in underwriting, so they might ask for new financial information. If your loan officer requests something of you, please make sure to return the request in a timely manner because the timeline of your approval is dependent on how quickly you get us what we need. Gathering all the necessary documents for your loan application can be really overwhelming. If you would like assistance with creating and compiling loan documents, we suggest that you work with a local business mentor. Our clients often work with the SBDC, SCORE, or a local women's or veterans business center to help them prepare to open, run, or scale their business. If you want to work with a mentor but do not know where to start, let your intake coordinator know and they can provide you with the contact information for your local offices. Once you have your documents compiled, you are ready to apply. In this last section of the presentation, I will quickly review our application with you so you know what to expect. On the first page of the application, we will collect your business information, such as the business's legal name, its phone number, EIN, and more. You will list your total request from Climb Fund in the top right corner. Some of the sections may not apply to you. If you do not have a website or a Dun& Bradstreet number, please just leave that section blank. You're not going to be penalized for not having this information. At the bottom of the page, we're going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about your business and your funding request. Your description does not need to be long, but it should clearly tell us what your business is and what you need the money for. The next page of the application will gather information on you as the business owner. We will collect that information, such as your name, demographics, address, and employment information. There is room on this page for information for an additional owner or personal guarantor. If you have two or more owners or guarantors, just let your intake coordinator know because they can send you an additional guarantor application to collect the other owner's information. One important thing to note is that each owner needs to sign each acknowledgement in the package. This is a really common mistake that causes delays in application processing. On the fourth page, you will see a table labeled sources and uses of proceeds. This table is the same as your use of funds and should match the document that you prepared for the application package. There is limited space on this table, so you can be broader in your types of uses. If you have funds that you are injecting yourself or that you are receiving from another lender, be sure to include them on the application and let us know how they will be applied. On the same page, you will see a collateral table that will break down the items that you are willing to put up as collateral to back the loan, such as equipment, real estate, or vehicle. Climb Fund does not require a specific ratio of collateral to funds, but having strong collateral coverage on your loan is a positive thing and can aid in the approval of your loan. If you are unsure of what collateral you want to provide at the time of application, Don't worry, just leave the section blank and your loan officer will discuss collateral in more detail with you in the underwriting process. If you are an existing business and you have business debt, please fill out the existing debt section on page 5. This should not include any loans or credit cards taken out in your name, even if the debt is being utilized for the business. If there is not room to list all the existing debt, please add an addendum. If you are a startup, you can disregard this section unless you've already opened up a credit card for the business and it has a balance. Also on page 5, you'll notice a section for employment information. At Climb Fund, we aim to create job opportunities in South Carolina, so we will want some information on the anticipated jobs created from the project. There are sections for full and part-time employees. Often at this stage, it can be hard to know how many employees you might need, so please do your best and be realistic with your estimate. The final pages of the application are all acknowledgments. Please make sure you read through each page to ensure you understand our underwriting requirements before you sign. When you have all your documents gathered and your application is filled out, then you're ready to apply for small business funding. To start the process, email the application to your intake coordinator. Please do not send documentation with the application itself. Once it's been reviewed, we will follow up with instructions on how to submit documentation to us. Thank you for tuning in to Application 101. I hope you now feel prepared for small business financing. Remember, if you have any questions about the application process or Climb Fund's lending, please reach out to our team by emailing intake@climbfund.org. We look forward to working with you.